Minis-N-Muscles with heroes rise. The dying world's still modern skies. Rushing ahead with power we fight. Strength that breaks you, life in the light. Where the brawn meets the brawn. The story told in this love imagination mode. With every stroke, adventures unfold. Minis-N-Muscles, heart and soul. Guidance in hand and worlds to explore. Roll the future, hear the dice roll. Gaming realms of muscles drawn. Together in this place where we belong. Golden spells casting dreams until the dawn. Leveling up and the world to follow. With painted heroes shining bright. Venturing onward in the endless night. Where the brawn meets the brawn. The story's told in this love imagination mode. With every stroke, the factors unfold. Minis-N-Muscles, heart and soul. Where the brawn meets the brawn. The story's told in this love imagination mode. With every stroke, the fate to fight for. Minis-N-Muscles, heart and soul.
Hello people, happy Friday. We are here, we are live. It is Minis-N-Muscles, the place where the brawn meets the paintbrush, the place where we talk geek, the place where we chill, the place where we chat about anything and everything to do with geek culture and the geek world. Anything you want goes. We have our favourite subjects here, from Warhammer, D&D, Pokemon, retro gaming, computer gaming, PlayStation, you know, all of that sort of stuff. But they're kind of our favourites, but that's not limited. So we can talk about anything here, all whilst we paint miniatures. That's what we do here. We paint miniatures and we chat geek. So welcome back, welcome one, welcome all. I hope you are well. It is Friday, thank the Lord. Let's move this cable out of the way as we do every week. So how are we? Are we good? Are we keeping well? Are you all right? Hopefully you've had a good week this week. Hopefully you're sort of resting up now because it's Friday and you're managing to chill out, if you're in the UK that is, or Europe. If you're over in the left-hand side of the globe as the map as we look at it in the Western world, that is, and you're in the Americas, then you will be a couple of hours behind us. So you're almost there for your weekend. Come on, Friday. We're almost there. And you are almost there. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope you're good. So, as usual, we have a set agenda that we go through here every week. I write out a little agenda from things for us to talk about. That doesn't mean it's limited to that and that only. We talk about anything you like. However, this week our general conversation for chat is going to be embracing your inner geek. So that's sort of really about the stigmatism, I guess, behind being a geek. Crossing the boundaries between, you know, that sort of jock over to geek kind of thing, you know, sort of tackling those subjects about how to feel comfortable in yourself, in doing what you feel comfortable in doing, as in the geek world, and enjoying that no matter who you are, how old you are, what sex you are, what sexual orientation you are, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, and that's our general chat topic this week. Apart from that, we of course have our muscle moment. I'm looking over to my notes. We have our muscle moment. That is where we talk about 10-15 minutes where we talk about fitness. We wouldn't be Minis-N-Muscles if we didn't talk about fitness, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk this week about train hard, gain easy-ish. We're just going to talk about you know, results that come from working out and how to adopt that really, and how to sort of go about it. And then lastly, we have our hobbies, and that is going to be around our overcommitment, let's call it that. Overcommitment in the geek world. So we'll talk about a hobby horror moment that happened to me, and it's about overcommitment. Okay? So, where are we in terms of painting? They're all the chat topics that we're going to talk about. But where are we in terms of painting? Well, if I look for my model, here he is. Here we go. Oh, I should actually bring over that one from last week, shouldn't I? I'll grab him now. So, last week, we actually painted 2 models. So, we had this guy, our owlbear, with all the blood on his claws, and the poor little deer that's underneath his foot that's just spinning around a little bit, and you can see all that blood and guts in there. So we had our little owlbear, and we finished him off. He's not a particularly detailed mini, to be fair. He's quite an easy mini to paint, so it didn't take us all that long. So we did him, but then we voted, and you guys voted in the masses, and this is what we voted for, to paint this Space Marine Primaris Librarian. So I have put him together, and he's obviously sprayed blue, and we're starting to put some details on him. Okay, so we're literally just going through the early stages of putting details onto this mini. Alrighty, so that is what we're going to paint this week. If we finish him in this session, I'm not sure if we will, because there's lots of detail on this guy, but if we do finish him, as standard, we will have a little vote and we'll see what we want to paint next. Yeah, so that is where we are. Huzzah! Alrighty, so let's move this out the way. And let's plug our laptop in, actually. That would be really helpful, wouldn't it, if we plugged the laptop in, because we could actually ensure that we have enough battery power to go through the whole show. That would be nice. Rather than the camera, we'll lose this computer. So fingers crossed you can join us today and do some painting. Make sure you've got a fresh little tray of water. Get your wet palette ready, okay? Get your brushes ready, all right? Arm yourself. And let's crack on, shall we? So, let's change our camera up. Let's go to this one, actually. There we go, so let's angle that in. So I've got a bit of a blocked nose today. It's a bit runny, so apologies if I sniff during the stream. But here we are. Here is our librarian. Let's see. There we go. We can get zoomed in quite nicely there. So that is our librarian. That is what he looks like. You can see all of the little details on his legs and things like that. So it's going to be quite a slow process, this one, but to begin with, let's get all the basics done. So I was starting last week on silver and just applying silver to the areas I know that are going to be silver or need a silver undercoat. So I think I'll continue on that basis, and we'll continue to sort of paint all the little bits and bobs on him. Yeah, and then we'll see what he looks like with that, and then we'll change colour afterwards. So, fingers crossed, you've got your paints ready as well. You can paint along with me. I'm just leaning over now and shaking up some paint pots. I've got my little paint mixer there on the side, so I'm just... Oh, hello, Butterfly Horse, how are you? Hope you're all well, hope you're keeping good. What have you been up to this week? Anything interesting, anything fun? Maybe it's the tree pollen causes... Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's a bloody bugger. So, all them fields of everything filling the air is making me have a runny nose. But never mind. It's okay. We'll deal with it, right? It'll be okay. How are you, Butterfly Horse? Hope you're keeping good. Have you started your models yet? Have you got any models? Have you started them? Because I remember a little while ago you were saying... that you were going to start painting. But have you started? There's the question. So as I said, on our model today, all we're doing is just adding in all the areas that we feel are going to be silver on this model. He's got his base coat of blue, and when I'm, you know, depending on what army I'm painting or what model I'm painting, if I can get away with spraying, whether that's the air gun or whether that's a spray can, getting the model's base colour done already, I'll try and do that. So you'll see in the Discord, actually, I've literally just coloured up a load of Space Marines as well, about 15 Space Marines. I've coloured those all up, and I quite like the sort of whack on the base layer, the primary colour that they're going to be, and then add the detail around it. Kind of makes it a little bit easier. So if you want to try that method, you're more than welcome. Here we go. There's quite a lot of bits of detail on this model, actually. I didn't realise when I sort of picked it out, but it's quite a detailed one. A lot of these Warhammer ones, to be fair, are. It's not like a D&D model, which is, you know, you can rattle through a D&D model, or a TTRPG model rather, very, very quickly. And you can get them done super fast, but I just find Warhammer models are very different. Not only do you have to build them, but you do have a lot more detail to fill in. So it will take you a little longer. Not that that's a problem, because it means that we can enjoy our hobby more, right? And talking of hobbies, our main chat conversation for this evening is about embracing your inner geek and, you know, letting yourself go a little bit. And I don't mean, you know, eat the world and pile on the pounds letting go, but I mean, you know, allowing yourself to enjoy things. And I just wanted to kind of explore that topic, really, because, you know, in this day and age where things are so stressful and crazy, quite often you don't have much time to really enjoy hobbies or really get to enjoy things yourself. And there's a lot of stigma attached to a lot of things, right, where people get upset because they don't want to be ostracized out of a group, or they don't, you know, they want to remain part of the cool kids or whatever, or they don't want others to see that they like certain things because they have this feeling that, you know, they should portray in a certain manner, in a certain way. But, you know, as long as you never offend anybody or harm people, my suggestion is that you sort of embrace whatever hobby it is that you've got and give it a bash. It doesn't matter what it is. Just be yourself, and that's the main thing. And that's kind of the topic that I wanted for general chat today. So if you've got anything that you want to talk about embracing your inner geek and letting yourself go, stick it in the chat. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. Alrighty. When you start painting these models as well, one thing I would say is you look at some of them and you think, oh crikey, this is silver, that's silver, this is... And you end up feeling like you've got just a series of one colour only. But just trust the process, go with it, and it will soon start to take shape. It's just the initial phase where a model looks like it's overly one colour, or, you know, it doesn't look quite right. So I'm painting this right now and I'm looking at it going, bloody hell, there's a lot of silver I'm putting in here. Surely there must be another colour somewhere. And there will be. So don't panic. Yeah. So, what I wanted to talk about, first part about embracing the geek world, was allow yourself to enjoy what you enjoy. Now, the chances are, if you have found yourself upon the channel of Minis-N-Muscles, you are interested in some form of geekery. Whether that is tabletop role-playing games, whether that is board games, whether that is computer games, painting models, you know, playing tabletop games like Warhammer, you know, you found your way here because of the good old algorithm, hopefully. Well, fingers crossed you have, or you're a friend of mine and I've said, hey, take a look at this because I know you'll enjoy it. And you're watching because you're a buddy or a friend. But what I wanted to say was that you've come here, right, and you've found the channel. So you're obviously into this sort of stuff. Now, it might just be that typically you were the cool kid in school and, you know, you were sort of seen as XYZ and you don't want to be seen as ABC, right? But when you start to cover up your personality and hide your personality, for whatever reason, you find that you end up harming yourself a little bit. And I don't mean in a physical way, but in a mental way. You start not intentionally harming yourself, but you start to stop doing the things that you actually are attracted to and actually love, and you end up doing something else completely. And I find that that is a huge thing that, you know, we've only got one life, and you should really just let go and enjoy whatever it is that you fancy giving a go. And that's kind of the main thing I wanted to talk about this part. About, first of all, just embrace it. Just let it go. Don't be bothered about what anybody says, and just give it a bash. Who cares if it's geeky and sad, right? If it makes you happy and you enjoy it, why not give it a bloody go? So that's the kind of first point I wanted to make about embracing your geekiness. There we go. By the way, not all these colours I'm doing will remain silver. It's just that there's quite a lot of silver things on here. So I just need to get some base colours in there. And I might go over in gold, I might go over in different colours. But to begin with anyway, at least, they're going to be silver. There we go. Oh, evening JPC. How you doing, sir? How are you keeping? Are you working today, JPC? Or have you the day off? Or have you finished already? No, in fact, it's 4th of July for you guys. So, happy 4th of July to all of my US watchers. It's a very important day. Sorry, I'm just taking it out of camera shot for a second. It's a very important day for you guys. 4th of July. Independence Day, for those that don't know about it. It's the Independence Day for America, where they became independent from Great Britain. We let them have it, so it's good anyway. I have the day off. Yeah, so you've got the day off for 4th of July. That's cool. Nice. I'm glad you managed to get the day off. Whilst we're doing this, I just want to try and look at a picture of this, because I just wonder, are these on the back here like little mechanical gas struts type thing? So I just want to have a quick look at that whilst we're painting here, because I don't want to paint the wrong thing. Of course, when you're painting a model, by the way, don't feel that you have to go by box art. It just happens that the army I'm painting, is the poster boys of the Space Marines. So I kind of want to get it right, and that's just my own personal opinion. So this is a librarian in Terminator armor. I just want to see what he's like in terms of on the back. Oh no. Okay, so he's just all one colour. Alright, so he's just got some edge highlights around these parts, that's all. So we'll do some edge highlighting there. We do have to get some black, so see these little lines here? We need to get some black in there, so let's switch to black. Get some black in. So I thought my lights up here were going to be better, and they're not. I do perhaps need to change the light from warm light to white light. So that might help, actually. And I did say that last week and I forgot. And now sitting under the light, I'm now realising that, yeah, I probably should change. So we're just painting what looks like his pants right now, or for those in the US for your 4th of July, we're painting his underwear. We're not painting his pants. Pants are or what we call trousers in the UK, right? I still find that hilarious. Do. So how have you been, JPC? How's your week been? Has it been good? What are you doing for 4th of July? Are you doing anything special? Barbecue, perhaps? Let me know. Drop it in the chat. And equally, if anyone else is doing anything this weekend, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you're doing. What are you guys doing? Are you doing anything special? Me? Not really. What did I do? In fact, I can give you a bit of an update on my week, actually. So this week, apart from work, which is, you know, is something you don't really want to talk about because it's quite boring. But I have played Warhammer this week. So I took the Battle Sisters out for a spin against Chaos Knights. We did lose, however, it was quite a close game. And if I'd have got the centre objective, I had a round where I literally missed everything. So in Warhammer, when you shoot at an enemy, you have to hit them, and then you have to determine whether you wound them, right? So it's sort of 2 lots of dice throws. Now I didn't even manage to hit the items on round 3, I think it was. So the targets that I was going for didn't even manage to hit them. And that really cost me in round 3 because I had to get the Chaos Knights off of the objective to score the points. Because that's how you win a game of Warhammer. You don't just win by killing. So you only win by scoring points, which is slightly different. However, I did take the moral victory by killing all of the Chaos Knights bar 1, including a gigantic Titan. So a friend of mine brought along a Titan, and that was pretty cool. And I managed to kill that, which was nice. Yeah, so that was the game. That was what I played. So we lost in points, but I got the moral victory, so I'll take that win. There we go, starting filling in all these little cracks here. Yeah, cooking out. Burgers and hot dogs, nothing fancy. Oh, man. Yeah, that's still cool, though. I love... Do you know what? That's one thing I wish we did here in the UK a little bit more, is celebrate things like our history. The UK, you know, even in schools, they don't really teach UK history. They teach history about the Romans or the Egyptians. And I'm like, we hardly do any history on even World War 1 and 2. And they were pivotal in the UK's history, let alone all of the grand history that we have going back in time. So I wish we did have a little bit more of a US approach where we kind of celebrate our past and what's happened in the past. Because there is a lot to celebrate, you know. You could say there's a lot to not celebrate, but you can't look at all the negatives of life. You have to sort of try to move forward with things, and you know, you should be proud of any country this is, should be proud of what they do and what they've done in the past, providing it was good. So I wish the UK was a bit more like America in that sense, and celebrated the good things that have happened. And for you guys, obviously 4th of July was very pivotal. There we go. What I'm doing on this one, on his hand actually, is I'm just trying to give the underside of his hand a black look. Leave the top side blue. And just give the sort of palm a black palm. So I think that looks quite cool. What else is black on here? We've got black on the back. Don't know whether I'll do in between these or not. It's a bit of a pain in between there. Yes, I don't think I'll do that. Let's have a look at the front picture of this guy. Yeah, I don't think there's too much more black here actually. I think that's probably as much as we need. Alright, actually, I'm just going to paint this shaft of this axe black because I want the recesses to look black when I give it the top coat. Oh, crikey. Try not to throw your models about like I'm doing right now. It's not advised. There we go. I'd like to spend the day building models, but that won't happen until tomorrow. Oh, no. So what is it, JPC? Is the family round? Have you got loads of folks over celebrating? So sometimes I feel like all I want to do is just paint models, just because I really enjoy it. It's such a fun hobby just to do. I've never found something like that in my life that I can consistently do and find interesting every time. And it all becomes almost like obsessive. I know it sounds really bad, but it's still fun. It's very good. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about something, wasn't I? Let's just get my notes back just so I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so we were talking, and our general chat for today, in case you want to drop in the chat, by the way, ladies and gents, is, you know, embracing your inner geek, being that geek that you truly are, and not worrying about it, not sort of having to roll with the stigma and all of that, and how it affects you mentally and all the rest of it. So that's what we're going to talk about. So if you have anything you want to chat about there, I would love you to put it in the chat. Start up the chat with me and let's have a talk about it. It'd be very cool to chat. But yeah, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was, you know, what does geek even mean today? You know, so traditionally it was sort of like, if you were a geek, you were an outcast, right? And you were seen as, you know, the fool. And then they sort of got a bit of a cross between geek and nerd. But I don't know, is nerd more sort of, is nerd more of a, you're really good at school, you're really good in schooling sort of environments, and a geek is just you like weird things? Is that everyone's general consensus on what geek and nerd are? Let me know, drop it in the chat. No, this colour. Shake it up. Yeah, so I guess it used to be very outcast to be a geek, right? Especially when I was growing up. It was never an acceptable thing to be as a geek. And you'd get quite a hard time for it if you were ever seen to do anything, you know, like Warhammer or, you know, D&D or something like that. People didn't take to it too well if you did that when I was a kid. However, nowadays, it's quite a different approach. It's, you know, we are in the modern era of where, you know, you can be what you want to be and that is okay. And the geek world benefits from that massively. You know, from programs like Stranger Things. By the way, I've just finished re-watching Stranger Things. Such a good series. And I completely forgot what happened at the end of season 4 as well. So, and I'm kind of started to re-watch it purely so I'm sort of up to date and up to speed, ready for the new season that's dropping later this year. But that's got nothing to do with what I was talking about. Sorry, I go off on a tangent. If you like Stranger Things, drop it in the chat. Tell me. I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, because of things like Stranger Things, it's kind of that TV program and others, you know, with the Dungeons and Dragons movie, for example, with things like Comic Cons and things like that becoming really widely accepted, it's changed the sort of shape of what's okay. And by what's okay is, you know, generally speaking, kids dominate the what's okay thing, and that decides what's good, what's not, what you can do, what you can't, right? And I'm not agreeing and saying that's the right way to be, but that's kind of how it goes, especially in the UK. So yeah, so long gone are the days where being a geek, you get beat up or hounded on for being that. Now you can be it and quite happily start to express yourself. Young people are really good at doing that. I think, you know, sometimes they may do it a little bit to the extreme, but they are sort of pioneering that, and it's us older people like myself, you know, and as I said before, I'm in my 40s, and it's people like me that are then, you know, catching up slowly with the youngsters who are sort of pioneering this geek is okay kind of approach. So for people my age, and probably a bit younger as well, you know, it is the time to start giving things a bash, and having that opportunity to do so. It may still feel a little bit alien to try something geeky, but it's well worth it because you'll find a huge amount of enjoyment from it, and you'll get a lot out of it. The chances are you'll meet a lot of cool people, and you'll make new friends out the back of that as well. And as you get older, you know, making friends is even harder than what it used to. It's hard as a kid, but it's even harder when you're a grown-up, right? Because you don't have that many real opportunities about meeting people, and that's kind of just fact of life. As you grow up, there's less opportunity for that. So yeah, jump on that bandwagon. Allow these youngsters to show you the way of embracing geekdom, and give it a try. And welcome, if it is your first time here on the channel, welcome. Happy to have you, pleased to have you, ecstatic to have you here. All of the above. It's very cool to have you all online chatting away and joining me. So I appreciate every single one of you. Sorry, every single one of y'all. Remember, 4th of July, so I've got to add an Americanism into there. Look at this for a cup and a half. That's geeky enough for you. Look, if I just bring it into the camera there. Look at that. Look at the size of that. So that's my cup, my drinking vessel for this evening. Oh. Right, so just added a little bit of white to the skull up the top. I have noticed that actually there's a tiny little bit of silver that needs, it's like a little metal bar that runs from left to right underneath that skull, and is sort of attached to the spikes. So I just need to give that a little bit of colour. Oh, dear me, I haven't got my geek glasses on yet, so for this I should probably put them on. It's quite a delicate little job. But I just can't be bothered to reach over and put them on, which is kind of silly, really. See, I was just talking about embracing things. I should embrace my geek glasses and put the darn things on. You see what I mean by stigma and how it kind of affects you when you making those choices to do something, right? It's still the same. Go. Alright. Okay, so that's that gun. Good. Yeah, that's cool. Just a little bit across there to tidy that. Alright, happy with that on the top. So that does go gold, so we do need to change that at some point, but that's fine with the silver base layer. So what I might do is paint all of these. They're not ribbons, crikey, Steve. What are they called? They have a special name. Can't think of it right now, but I will paint all these. I'll give them a little bit of colour. What do I want to colour them? I want to colour them maybe this colour. So it's kind of an off-white, sort of creamy colour for all of these that are hanging down. If Adrian was here, he'd quickly tell me exactly what they are. So, if anyone else can help me remember my own words, what are these things, these little ribbons that hang down, what are they called? They're not parchment papers, They're called something, and I can't blooming remember. As always, I forget what I'm talking about, forget my words. So if you can remember for me, stick it in the chat and let me know, because right now I'm struggling to find the word. Adrian, where are you? So for those of you who don't know, I'm not doing an impression of Rocky. Adrian is a viewer that channels in, sort of joins us in on a stream every Friday, or most Fridays. And usually he's quick to help me. When I forget my words, he's always there to help me remember what the heck I'm saying. So I appreciate that, Adrian. Because the trouble is, I forget I forget words all the time. When I'm trying to say a sentence or whatever, it doesn't always come out in the right way, especially if I'm tired. So I'll end up having to sort of pause halfway through a sentence and then either use a completely different word because I can't remember the word I'm trying to use, or I'll just get completely stuck and I'll pause on it. But generally speaking, I'm quite good at finding a different word now, and I don't know why the hell that happens. It just does. Again, if someone can tell me what that is, any doctors watching online can tell me what that is and why I do that. I have no clue myself, so I'd love to know. I'd love to hear from you. Any doctors watching? See, that's another job that must be super stressful, right? They should get into geek hobbies. Big time, doctors. Big time. They should so get into geek world hobbies. Something like this is just so relaxing. But anyway, see, I go off on a tangent, don't I? Apologies, guys. You've got to sometimes jump in the chat and steer me back to the conversation. So, Steve, you're going off on one again. So you have to bring me back to the real chat. There we go. Do-do-do-do. So, next part of our chat, what we were talking about, in the fact of, you know, embracing the geek, sort of how you go about embracing the geek in your, the geek in you in your life, and you know why you should do that. So, if you've got any thoughts on that topic at all, drop them in the chat. Let me know, and I'll carry on talking about all the little bits and bobs. Feel free to interrupt me anytime. But one of the things I wanted to find out is, talk about is, you know, once you've decided that actually sod it, my life is short enough as it is, and I want to enjoy some of it with the things that I love. It's then starting to understand, what is it do you love? What is it that really flicks your switch, that floats your boat, that does it for you? Now, this is different for everybody, but the geek world has got, I would say, another beauty of the geek world is the fact that there are so many things that can absolutely encapsulate anyone at all. And I don't care what you are, who you are, I would put money on it, you know, that regardless of who you are, you can find something in the geek world that you can get into and you will enjoy. You know, whether that is, you know, Pokemon cards, or collecting WWE merchandise, or, you know, watching old retro cartoons, whatever it is, there is something for absolutely everybody. And I genuinely think there isn't anyone that couldn't fit into the geek world. Again, another reason why it's so cool. There we go, they look quite nice. Checking on the chat. So yeah, so you need to find what you fancy. Is it Warhammer? Is it cosplay? Is it retro arcading? Is it, you know, collecting old sort of nostalgia items or something? I don't know. But start to explore all these new environments without gatekeeping yourself. you know, take a no-hold-bar approach to it and just throw yourself in at the deep end. Give it a bash, whatever that is, and then make a sort of an assessment off the back of that. The beauty of the geek world, right, is it's not like, let's say, football. Okay, football's stereotypically and still is quite largely, lads type approach. I'm not saying all people that enjoy football are like that, but a large proportion are. And it's still quite a judgmental area. It's not like it's... I don't like necessarily using the term safe space, but it's not really a safe space like the geek world is. Anybody could jump in and do this and not be judged. But if you went into football and you started to try something and you weren't quite doing it right or whatever, there'd be a quick... I believe there would be a quick sort of turnaround of people to call you out on that. Whereas I find generally in the geek world, people will say, oh, rather than putting you down, they'd say, oh, why don't you try this? Do it this way. And they'd support you and help you through it. Or, you know, they'd be a little bit more compassionate towards new people joining. And that means it's open for you to get out there and start having a look at what you do like and what you don't like. So that's absolute prime reason. If nobody's going to judge you for your actions, because the geek world is full of crazy people like me, and I mean that in the most endearing and lovely way, because people in the geek world are endearing and lovely, but we are all crazy, right? In a good way. So people aren't going to sit there and judge you. People aren't going to give you a hard time about it. What we got here? Squarish just caught up the last minute of what you've been talking about. Sounds like how I ended up changing career to photography. Yeah, so it's finding the inner you, Squarish, is what I was kind of saying, and relating it to the geek world and what we talk about and do here on Minis and Muscles. Also evening all. Yes, evening. I've just noticed by people's names they've got like a number 1 and a crown or a number 2 and a crown. What does that mean? Do you guys see that in chat? Where your names are like JPC's got a crown and a number 1. Squarish has got a crown and a number 2. What does that even mean? Is that you're the most prolific talker in the chat? I don't know. I don't know what that means, so please don't ask me too many questions on it. I don't even know if you guys can see it actually, to be honest, but on my side I can see it. And it puts little sort of numbers and crowns next to everybody. And I haven't initiated some kind of inner circle game or something, you know. It just is what Discord is. I just didn't know if it was some new function, because it wasn't on last week. That's for sure. So yeah, we're just painting this Space Marine and just getting him all nice and tidy so he can go on the battlefield soon. I'm hoping that I will be able to field my Space Marine army soon. There's a lot to paint, and I'm sort of going through a lot of the models, and I've got a mate of mine helping out as well, do some models. So it's just taking some time, which is frustrating in some ends because you just want to crack on and play, but actually it's also quite exciting too, because I was talking to a buddy of mine today and he's also got some Space Marines, and it's just very exciting to then be, you know, chatting about what you're going to use and how you're going to use it and the tactics, and you can really start to look forward to playing a game with your mates. So we were actually saying today it's going to be really cool when he gets his army and I've got my army. It's going to be quite a cool day. Here we go. Just noticed some extra little black bits that I hadn't painted. So I'm just sticking some black into those little crevices. Again, if we go over the edges, don't panic at this stage. It is all about corrections later, so we'll do that later. It's getting the base colours in place is all we're doing. So we've got those done. Let's do the little seals. Oh, purity seals. That's what they are. Gosh darn it. Now I remember. Apparently I'm your number 2 fan. Oh, so you guys can see that as well then? I didn't know if you could see it. I didn't know it was just me that could see that. However, it's quite funny. I think it's probably got something to do with grading people on the chat, right? So if you're the most prolific talker in chat, you know, you can go up in the rankings, I guess. So there's a competition. Maybe like once we get some, you know, more viewers and stuff, we can have competitions, and I don't know, there might be a point in the show where I, you know, call the competition, and the competition is for, you know, the next 10 minutes, who has got the best chat. And it can't be spam, but it can be, you know, chatting about a geeky topic. I'll select the topic maybe, and we can all start talking about it, and then the machine will tell us who talks the most, as long as it's good chat, not spam chat. We don't do spam here, but that would be quite an interesting thing to do, actually. I'd quite like to do that. I don't know if that would appeal to you guys, but it sounds quite fun. The chat games. It's like the Hunger Games, but not quite. So what else are we going to talk about? So we talking the last bit we were talking about the general chat for today, which is about, you know, embracing your inner geek. Was finding your niche. So don't be afraid to go out there and give something a go. The geek world is so not judgmental from everything I've experienced so far. It allows you to be quite free with that and go in, give it a bash. If it's not for you, people don't mind. Move on, try another thing. So it means you can go and experience a load of stuff. Go and experience it, give it a bash. Why not? You've got one life to live, and you might find a new passion. And having a passion in life is quite a rare thing sometimes. So do give it a go. Get out there, try something, find your niche. Because once you've got that, you can then start elaborating on your niche. So that means, you know, you can start to find more people that you get along with, or would get along with, that enjoy the same thing as you. So you're going to then start to grow. Square is saying, I'm guessing it's some sort of new engagement tool by YouTube. Square is saying, yeah, I got promoted. Yes. See, I think it's all to do with who's chatting the most. So yeah, I think it would probably be quite cool to, like I say, at some point to do like a competition type thing. So we bring up a subject, and then you guys, you know, have 10 minutes to talk about it, and, you know, I can judge the chat, and whoever's comes out of it as crown one, we have a winner, and we can have a little competition. It'd be quite fun. But yeah, I think it's just to help with engagement, right? It certainly wasn't there last week, but I'm not sure if it's YouTube. I think it might, well, maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is a YouTube thing. Yeah, because it's streamed through YouTube, isn't it? Yeah. I was thinking it was a Discord thing for a second, but it's not. Not connected to Discord, I'm afraid. However, the Discord channel is out there, so if anyone else does enjoy Discord, and you do like talking about minis and geek world stuff, jump on the Minis-N-Muscles Discord. You can find all the details for that on the homepage of my YouTube. If you go to the homepage of the YouTube, there will be a link in the main bio that will be for a link tree. If you follow the link tree link, it will take you to a few options where you can go to, I think it's like the Twitch page, Patreon page, the what's it called, Discord. But in the Discord, follow the Discord link, go to that, and you'll be able to sort of jump in and chat and have a good old conversation and a natter with people about lots of different things. We post pictures of our models up, so stuff that I'm not painting necessarily on the channel, I will post model pics, others will post model pics, and we have a good old chatteroo in there. So it's very much worth jumping on, if you like Discord, that is. Just another way to embrace the geek. And as we were saying, once you've found your niche, and perhaps your niche is model painting, and you find that you really love it and it inspires you, get on the Discord. There you go. Straight away, the culture will then help you grow into your niche. Oh. So you can start to build geeky friendships, and that's another point on my list. Geeky friendships. So here's one, right? This is quite funny. So a geeky friend that I have, weirdly, I've known of him for years, but I never truly knew him until I became a geek. So I won't name the friend, but I knew his sister for a very long time. So she used to do a fitness class that I used to run. So I used to run a fitness class, and she used to attend. Her and her husband. Well, he wasn't a husband at the time, but they then got married. But yeah, so she attended, and she brought her fiance along, and you know, they was enjoying my fitness classes that I used to run. And then they invited me to the wedding. I went to their wedding. It was an absolutely wicked day. God, the food was super good, by the way. Crikey, I don't know, that they really smashed it out the park with the food. I don't know who they used, like catering wise, but woo, there was loads of it as well. So for someone like me that likes to eat quite a bit, it was very nice. But yeah, I've known this girl for years and years and years, and then when she got married, she then moved away. So we sort of stayed in contact, but not really. And then I started to get into geeky stuff, and I would then went down to the local comic shop, and I got into D&D. I was also painting Warhammer at the time, but I was just doing that by myself, just painting just for fun. And I started getting into D&D, and I was playing on a table with a lady there, and then did I meet this guy through? I can't remember where I met. I'm pretty sure I met this guy at the comic shop and played games with him at the comic shop. And then, because his missus also worked at the comic shop, and she ran a few of the games, which was cool. And then I got sort of invited along to a home game, and that's how I met this guy. And then one day, it was like completely out of the blue, and we had already started being mates at this point. And he was like, "Oh, I'm going to speak to my sister Jess," and I knew this guy's surname, and it's like, I was like, "Your sister isn't, such and such, and has got such and such husband." He's like, "Yeah." He was like, "Do you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've known her for years." And it turned out that this guy was the brother of this girl I'd known for years and years, and I just didn't know him. So I expanded my friendship, weirdly, into a part that I was already part of anyway, but... Oh no, where's my blue? There it is. But it was just quite funny that he was already part of my world, but I didn't even know it, if that makes sense. So it was quite a funny moment where I realised. And then he phoned his sister this time, and he said, "Oh, look who I'm with." And then we had a good old chat and a laugh, so that was quite funny. That was good. But yeah, so the reason why I was sort of, rambling on about that story is because the geek world can introduce you to loads of cool people that you may know or you may not know, or people that you thought you knew but didn't, because they actually are a geek and they just hadn't sort of announced that to the world. So, you can start to expand friendship groups very, very quickly. So as soon as I got into the comic shop, for example, it expanded out and loads more people. Then I got invited to another group and blah, blah, blah. And it just sort of spiraled in a great way. So that's one thing that the geek world is very cool at, is that inclusivity part. and, you know, knowing a million people through one person. And I absolutely love that about the geek world. So, expand your friendships was my point. Don't be afraid to join a new group, have a new chat, because the chances are they are just like you and you will get on with them very, very well. So that was my point on expanding your friendships whilst I'm painting our Space Marine Terminator. So has anyone else in the chat that's watching right now, has anyone else had any sort of experiences around new friendships or through geek hobby? I'd love to hear from you. If you have, drop it in the chat. I had a similar thing at Comic Con where it turns out one of the other volunteers at Game Therapy UK was a good friend of one of my old troop sergeants from the army who I only recently found was into Warhammer. Ah, see? Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Where you sort of... And again, it comes back to that first point that I spoke about, that I think although it's more accepted in the younger generation, I do still feel you know, if you're in your 30s or above, it's not quite accepted that being a geek is okay. You know, it's like, oh no, that's child stuff. You shouldn't do that. That's what kids do. You know, and there's still very much that mindset. However, you know, mindset that this is for kids, but then you can go to the pub, get absolutely obliterated and drunk, and that's completely fine by some people's standards. You know, it's a very strange world we live in. But given it's strange, adopt the strange, try the new. There you go. So what else are we talking about? Yeah, we've talked about the geeky friendships. There are sort of three ways as well to expand your friendships, and I've kind of mentioned them, and Squarish has sort of said the other one as well. So you've got your local game stores, you've got you know, your online community, and you've also then got sort of conventions as well. These conventions, you see, there's so many geeks there. It's almost impossible not to chat to people because of, I don't know, the outfit that they're wearing, or, you know, they talk to you about a t-shirt that you've got on, or, you know, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, I love that t-shirt you've got on, where did you get it, blah blah blah. Or they've just got the same t-shirt on as you, so it's like, oh, you know, brother, you got the same t-shirt as me. So there's always a talking point there for people at conventions, and it's a really easy way to expand friendships and meet new people. And again, that's kind of interesting, right? Meeting new people, finding new people. I find that fascinating. I love to meet new people. It's proper interesting. Well, sometimes otherwise it gets a little bit dull, doesn't it, if you're sort of talking to the same old people day in, day out. That's what I want. Yeah, so here's our little Space Marine librarian and how he's getting on. Coming there slowly, right? He's getting there. Should do that book in a bit, actually. It's quite a large item on his back, so it would look quite stand out. I just wanted a slightly different metallic for the top end of this axe. So I just wanted to go for like a kind of bronzy look. Because again, if you got two... Well, don't get me wrong, you could just paint it silver like the rest there and it'd probably blend in and look absolutely fine. But sometimes just having an opposing colour in there or something slightly different, it catches the eye in a slightly different way. It just gives that little bit of attention to detail, that, you know, that you've put a bit more love and thought into your model than just slapping one colour across it. And by the way, I'm not knocking anybody for putting just one colour across this area, because I've done that before in models. If I'm in a rush to paint stuff, those Space Marines that I painted today that are on the Discord, they'll probably get that treatment because I'm trying to get through them quite quickly. And they're big squads, right, which take a long time, a lot of effort. But single items like this guy, definitely worth just spending a little bit of extra thought and time and giving them a bit of colour variation. Now, that is not a huge amount of colour variation. You can almost can't see it on the camera. In real life you can see it and it's a bit more stand out, but almost in real life you can't see that. But that's quite cool. It's quite good to have a little bit of variation. I want to gold up there now. Shake that up. So in a minute we'll pause for our muscle moment, as we always do at the sort of halfway point of the show. But if you've got any comments to put in about being a geek and embracing your inner geek, come on, I'd love to hear from you guys. Drop it in the chat. Tell me what it is. Tell me what your experiences are. Maybe you have recently found a new geeky friend through a certain geeky channel. And I'm not hinting at this, by the way, and Minis-N-Muscles. Although you could have, right? Maybe you have. Maybe you have found a friend through watching Minis-N-Muscles. Who's to say, right? So on this part here, there's this little raised sort of area that I'm painting right now. These are quite difficult sometimes because they're only raised just slightly, and if you don't paint the raised part, that tiny little edge, you get the bleed of the undercolour through or whatever it is, and it really does affect how it looks. So you've got to be ever so careful when doing these. Again, I should probably put my geek glasses on to do these edges, because they're quite a fine detail. They're not impossible to do, as I'm doing and proving now. You know, it's not impossible to do these features without your geek glasses on, but it just makes it a lot easier. I'll probably grab them in a minute. There we go. So you can see that now, the gold on his axe. There we go. You know, it's slightly difficult if I pause in my talking, or my talking slows down, because I'm like sort of half holding my breath. Just to make sure that I don't cock up the model. There we go, there we go. Alright, that wasn't bad. There's a little bit of overrun on that edge, but that's okay. I can take that. That's easy enough to tidy it up. So let's go this side, do exactly the same, and then we'll break for our muscle moment. And we'll talk a little bit about fitness for 10 minutes or so. There we go. Do-do-do. Righty, so there's the top layer done, and now it's just the pesky sides to do. And these are, apologies if I'm not quite getting the right camera angle here. It's just a bit tricky to do. I need to come back and make sure I re-go over some things in silver on this blade. So it's just a little bit of overrun here and there. Not huge amounts, but enough for me to want to get in here and make some changes. Some of these edges are actually quite hard to get to as well because of the way the model is. Makes some of the edges a little bit more difficult to get to. Sorry for the angle. If it's a bit crap, apologies. Right, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Also look for groups in your area, says Squarish. It's saying, I found a community darkroom near me and have started joining them on photo walks. Nice excuse to get out with the camera, geek out about film and have a social. Yeah, 100%. That's a great way to do it. And by the way, just to reiterate, when Squarish is talking about darkrooms, he's not talking about he sits in a dark room and does nothing. He's talking about enjoying the hobby of photography and how you require a darkroom to process your photographs if you're publishing it, if you're doing your old school style, and how he's got a group that goes out and does sort of social walks through that. Yeah, so I'm sure there's plenty of options like that that are out there for the majority of people, right? Here come the geek glasses, time so you can all laugh at me. But yeah, there's always plenty that you can do. And there's quite often little groups that you can find and tag along with and join in. It's just about whether you want to or not, or whether you want to put yourself out there. And that's kind of, again, touching on what we were chatting about earlier. Putting yourself out there and actually giving it a go and trying it. Because 9 times out of 10, it's probably worth it. Oh, I've just realised where I've missed a bit of the silver. Dang it! There we go. So I've just gone over the white there, but I had no real choice because of my shaky hand skills and the little tiny area that I had to get into just to make sure that silver was applied correctly. There we go, there's a little bit there on the back I've missed. See, that is a good thing about these geek glasses. When you see it up close, it's like, oh, I've got that bit, oh, I've got that bit. And you can just repair the things that you need to. They are a very cool item. If you don't own a pair of these, I would highly recommend you do go and purchase some. They're not a lot of money. They save your eyes from squinting, and they allow you to get a far cleaner finish on your models. So do go out and get some of these goggles, because they look stupid. You can join me in looking stupid, and you can improve your miniatures today. That's right, people. You heard it first here on Miniatures and Muscles. And talking of muscles, we shall be breaking shortly for our muscle moment. Righty. So, let's just break and pause there for our muscle moment. Take those off. Change up to the front view so I can see you all. Ha ha! Hello! How are we? Righty. So, for our muscle moment, I don't know if the music was a bit loud today, actually. It feels like it's a bit loud. For our muscle moment, as usual, we wouldn't be the place where the brawn meets the brush if we didn't talk a little bit about fitness, right? So we take 10 minutes in the show just to chat about fitness and just in general and what it's all about. And we cover a variety of topics. And the topic I wanted to talk about today was the idea that results don't come easy. Now, you always see on the internet, you know, a plethora of advertisements of this and that and all the rest of it saying, you can get this from that, you can get this, and you only have to do this 15 minutes a day, and you can have a body like Adonis, you know. Such silly claims that are out there. Now, I just wanted to sort of talk about my experience and how I've never found that in anything I've done. And no, I'm not what I would say physically gifted, in the sense that I can just do it once and I'm a master at it. But I've done a lot of sports, I've done a lot of physical training, and nothing is as easy as what a lot of these things make out to be. Now, that doesn't mean to say that if you're a new person to fitness that you should just go, oh, fuck that, I'm going to quit. Because getting out there and putting yourself out there is part of it, the commitment to do fitness. But social media in general glamorizes it, and it's not as easy as what it looks. You can't just go to the gym and you know, do a couple of 3 or 4 repetitions of an exercise, you know, take a photo for Instagram and then move on to the next one and think that you're going to walk away with muscle. You know, you're not going to walk into the gym and within a year look like The Rock. It's just not achievable. It's taken me to get to this like physique, and I'm not perfect in my physique by any stretch of the imagination, right? However, for me to get from a skinny cyclist who weighed about 70 kilograms, and I now weigh 98 kilograms, 99 kilograms actually, so that's 29 kilograms heavier. It's taken me 9 years to get to this point. 9 years to get to this point, and it's pretty consistent training all throughout those 9 years. And when I train hard. I go into the gym and I train until I use the phrase my eyes fall out. Now, you know, there's two key things there that I think not enough people employ when they start their fitness journey, and that's one, consistency. 9 years of consistency to get to this level, and I'm, you know, I don't look like the Hulk yet, and that's 9 years worth. Yes, I've probably done some things wrong where I've gone along a learning journey, and yes, I could have had better food and better, you know, exercise routines in general. But 9 years to get to this point, and I've worked consistently over that 9-year period. Even with the breaks in between, it still works out pretty consistent. So that is one key. Second key is hard, hard, hard. If it isn't hard, it's not worth doing. There's that old adage, old phrase, and that's so true, right? You're never going to get to the point of physical fitness that you aspire to if you're going in and you're not putting in 110% every time. If you're not, and even if you go to the gym and you're working out but not really working out, get up and walk out. You are better off walking out of the gym and coming back when your mind is clear and you can put 110% effort in than doing 60% and then just walking away. Because with that 60%, you don't achieve anything. You really don't. So my ultimate message is you have to have consistency. You have to train hard as heck. And then lastly, you have to get your rest and nutrition in. So that's probably my worst, is the rest and nutrition part. That's where I really let my own self down. And I know that, I'm aware of that. I like a McDonald's, or well, I don't really like McDonald's that much actually, but I like a KFC, for example, or a takeaway in general. I like that kind of stuff because it's freaking tasty. So I know my downfalls, but I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that. I've made peace with it. But rest as well. Make sure you get plenty of sleep, because your body can't grow without the rest. You've just put it through all of that strain, and if you can't sleep, you're never going to, again, achieve the optimum that you need. And then train with intention. Don't just train to train. I was talking to someone not so long ago, and they were like, oh yeah, I just train because I just train, and that's what I do. I just go to the gym and I just go there to go there, you know. I just like the atmosphere. I'm like, what? You can't. What? You're not even achieving anything. You're not getting anything out of it. Why would you even do that? You know, set yourself a goal. Join a club. Get a training partner. Sign up to a challenge. Anything you can do to inspire yourself to push that little bit harder. That's what it's about. Pushing harder. There's a reason why the guys in things like the Special Forces are super fit because they push themselves to the extreme. Absolutely to the extreme. Anybody could do it, but it's whether you want to push yourself hard enough to be able to achieve. And that is the ultimate key to success, I think, and I feel, in the fitness world. Now, some people may disagree with that, and that's completely fine. But I've never, ever in my, well, I started fitness at 16 when I joined the military. So, what's that? 6 is 30, just around 30, just under 30 years worth of fitness. I've never found that I could just do sod all and get away with it and get better. Okay, you've got to go hell for leather. Okay, so hell for leather, get on it, give it a go, get yourself up. And hell for leather doesn't mean necessarily that you need to go and run a marathon tomorrow. It might be that your first run is a kilometre and that is it. But you go hell for leather at that kilometre. Whatever you do, put 110% in. And if you're consistent with that and you get your rest and nutrition, I assure you, you will start to achieve. All right, that for today is our muscle moment. All right, enjoy it. If you have any questions on the muscles, drop it in on the chat. Happy to talk about it. But for now, back to the mini. All right, so we've just done a little bit of gold on here. We've done that you can't quite see it, but there is a brassy kind of colour in between here. And there's the obviously white of the skull. We've done some of the silver work, a little bit of black on the helmet as well. Could probably do the skin on his face actually whilst we're here. Let's just grab some. I want some really sort of light coloured flesh because I want to try some tones on his face at some point. So I'm going to start really light and then probably build that up with some different colours. So we're going to start with a really weird, almost like a ghost white skin colour. But we'll build that up over some time. So, but for the first bit, we'll put this colour in anyway. There we go. Yeah, so don't think that I'm going to paint his face white. I think this is called witch flesh white or something. Pallid witch flesh is the colour. And I just want to try to start off with this really sort of basic white tone and then just see if I can build it up with some other colours on top. That is my intention. Whether I'm able to do that or not is another thing, but we shall try. There we go. It is definitely difficult though to get around that back side of the face. So to find out with a lot of Space Marines when they've got this kind of setup where they're looking off to the side. It's probably better, especially if you're new to painting, to paint the face before you stick it in situ, because it does get pretty tricky at this point, even just to get a basic colour in place. Very difficult. Tell I say this every week, don't I? I need to change my paintbrush because it's rubbish. And I don't, do I? God, I'm such a lazy bugger. Right, okay, so that's the first colour. I just want to get onto his face. Yeah, it looks really pale, I know. But I just wanted to start to try and build some different layers up for some sort of variation on his flesh tone, so we'll cover that later. But that's just the first bit that I wanted to get on there. So I drop that over there. And what do we want to do next? So we've got some red piping up here. Oh no, we need some red. And we need some yellow as well. So red and yellow. Tell you what, actually, I could do with a yellow. I don't know if I've got one, but a yellow. Aha! Look, that's what we want. A yellow contrast. So I want a yellow contrast to go over those silver pipes on the left and right of his chest. That's what I wanted. So I have got one. Oh no, it's orange, not yellow. Will that be okay? I don't know. It's more that cut. Oh, it does say yellow, so we'll give it a bash. It might just look a bit orange. We've got the red as well, so let's start with the red. So we're going to put the red. There's two pipes there, so there's sort of one on the left, one on the right. So you've got this pipe here that we can just paint red. And then we've got the pipe next to it that we're going to use that contrast across the silver just to see how it looks. There we go. A little bit thin actually, so again it's a sort of reminder to you when you're thinning down your paints. You know, you don't just be careful how much water you stick on that paintbrush before you dip it in your paint. You can go, and my advice is to go less all the time and then add to it so you don't completely ruin the paint you've got on there. But if you do make that mistake, don't panic, because you can just go over it again. So you can just give it a second coat, right? So it's not the end of the world if you end up painting it twice. And quite often actually, especially, you know, if you get these pro painters, they will do multiple layers. Now remember here, we're not on Minis and Muscles to talk about how to enter a, you know, Golden Demon competition for the best painting award. We're talking about easy tips and tricks, how to execute quite quickly on a model so that you can get that out on the table and play your favourite game with it. And that's what we're all about. Okay, so there's the red. Did I get that just right? Sorry, this angle might not be great for the camera, so apologies. There we go. Alrighty, so let's try this this yellow. Really interested in putting this sort of contrast yellow over the silver to see how that looks. It's going to look quite funky. So this is, was that Eandon yellow? So yeah, Eandon yellow. Let's see how this looks when we apply it across the silver. I like it actually. I think that looks quite cool. These contrasts are always, because they're very sort of inky in what's it called, the consistency. They're always so easy to paint over. It's a bit like speed paints, you know. They're so easy to apply to a model. And the beauty of these sort of contrast and speed paints is they just flow into the right areas. And they make you look far more better than what you actually are. They certainly do for me. So that's what we've got so far. It's like a sort of off yellow. It's not like a bright yellow. But when you look at it in real life and not on the camera here, it makes the gives it the appearance that it's metallic-y. So that's how it kind of looks in real life. So it gives it that metallic kind of vibe, which is exactly what I wanted, like a metallic yellow. Not a flat yellow. So if I'd have just painted it with a normal paint, it would have looked rather flat, and it wouldn't look like a metal. It would look, you know, just like a painted a bit of cardboard. And what I wanted was a metallic-y yellow, and this seems to be working, so I shall accept what the paint is giving me. What the paint gods are giving me tonight. I like it. There we go. Alright, I quite like that. That looks quite cool. What do we reckon? Looks pretty decent. I like. And again with the contrast, if any area once it's dried has sort of come through a bit thin, run another coat over. Again, we can do that later. But there's that. What else did I want? I wanted two other contrasts now because I wanted a light blue and I wanted a dark blue. I don't know if I've got what this one is. Let's shake it up and see how it goes. Oh, I think it's too white, that. Yes, I think that one is too white. I don't want that one. What's this? Ah, right, okay. So I'm going to try with these two. Right, so what I want to do with these two is like a bit of a blending on the axe. So from like a dark to put the dark blue on the sort of more insides, and on the edge of the blade have the light blue. So with contrast, you can use them at the same time. When they're still slightly wet and they start to merge and blend, and they blend quite well. So that's what we're going to try and do here for this blade, is blending the two colours together, and it generally works 9 times out of 10. It works pretty well. You just have to make sure your contrasts are well shaken up beforehand, so I'm just giving them a good old zip on the machine on the left hand side here of where I'm sat. And choose two colours that are fairly similar. So I've got these two here, and this is Frostheart and Talisar Blue. So we're going to start with the I can't remember how I did this last time, whether I started dark and went light and light went dark. Well, let's start with dark. Sod it. If we make a mistake, doesn't matter. And we're going to start on the inner parts of the blade. So I'm going to start on the inside, and then we'll apply to the darker colour afterwards. So you just got to be ever so careful when you're applying this. It's quite tricky sometimes. But go steady, take it easy. Don't worry about filling all the areas. Don't worry about it being perfect, right? Oh, sorry, I'm not in the frame. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about it being mega. But we're going to put this darker blue up against the gold here. And then we'll get the lighter blue and put it on the edge of the blade. That's kind of the intent here. Once this dries as well, the silver will still show through, which is really nice. So stick that in there like that. Get a bit on this side too. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. Right, okay, so we've got that. Great, now let's get the other lighter blue in there. And at the same time, because this one, the darker blue is still wet, right? So it's not dried, and we're just going to apply the lighter blue along the edge. It dried a bit too much actually, where it was too thin. So that's the only trouble. If it gets too thin, it doesn't quite blend very well. So you must do it when it's still wet, because otherwise what you get is like these sort of darker tones where it's dried already, and you don't want the darker tones. You want the light tones. Sorry, you don't want the darker tones to stain. You want the light and the dark to merge. Is what you want. So on here, for example, let's see if we can get this darker blue just down the middle here. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that or not. No, my camera's not really good enough. There's just a bit of that dark blue just on the inside there. So again, let's get a lot of the dark blue and place it on the underside. Got to be quick here because, as you saw earlier, it dries pretty fast. So maybe it's better to do it in stages. Let's get this one. Here we go. That's better. That's what we want. So do it in stages rather than do the whole lot together. Do it in stages. Stick a load of the dark blue in. Then get some of the lighter blue and just merge it along the edge. That's all you're doing. Again, get that dark blue in the recess in between the gold. We can go back over the gold, by the way, if we hit the edges too hard. So don't worry. Oh, I want to change that across to the light blue. And apply the light blue around the edge. Hasn't quite worked as well on the front side, so it's a bit of a disappointment, but that's alright. We can go back and try it again. So a lot of that dark blue, like that. Oh, this bloody paint pot keeps popping down. There we go. So we've got our light blue, dark blue, sorry, we've got a dark blue there, and then we can get the light blue, go around the edge. And sort of trickle it in, and it should just blend with the dark and lights. There we go. I think these colours actually might be a little bit too close. Sometimes if you get the colours a little bit too close, you can't distinguish between the two. So rather than getting a sort of blend and a mix, you get sort of just a blur. I think that's what we've got partially. Okay. So we've got a bit of a blue on that side, but I think we need a bit more dark actually. But I don't know now whether, because it's dried, you get this sort of stain underneath. That's exactly what I didn't want. I didn't want the stain underneath. Again, if I'm going over the gold, don't panic. We can come back and sort that. Right, let's just see how that dries. And that one dries. Yeah, it's not quite worked in the way I wanted it to, but never mind. That's alright. Let's just take that off for a second. See if there's anything happening in the chat. No, nothing happening in the chat at the moment. Hopefully all is good and you're well. Right. So, more on the conversation of our main topic of today. And we were talking about sort of getting into the geek world and settling and finding your niche and all the rest of that. And really how to embrace your inner geek. regardless of what hobby it is that you do, you follow, you practice. So we've been talking about, you know, allowing yourself to be acceptant of it, in the sense of, you know, it's not the done thing perhaps normally, but actually you should give it a try, and why not? It's worth it. Then all the way through to, you know, what does it mean today? Finding your geek niche, enjoying the building of geeky relationships and friendships. Now, you know, what you can do with the geek world is use it as escapism. I've talked about this many times on the show before, but I think it's a really important thing that we don't touch on enough. Is in this world, that is, and not on the channel. In this world, we have a massive focus on, you know, the world and the stresses that it brings to you. And what I find with the geeky world is that you can use that as a place to escape from that. I'm not saying in a bad way you should sod off real life and go and, you know, live your life like a computer game. But what I am saying is it can help you get away from some of those stresses that you might encounter in life. And it will give you that break that you might well need to be able to deal with some things. You know, I use it in that way. You know, that's why I love chatting to you guys on a Friday night and talking geek with you. That's why I, you know, play Warhammer, or I play Dungeons and Dragons, or whatever it is, because it's a good escape from the real world pressures. Now, there is a limit on what you should try to escape from, you know, but there are plenty of things you can do to embrace a geek hobby and use that for a potentially good reason of mental health escapism. And I think that's quite an important thing that more people should try to do, because it is so good for that. As in, the geek world is so good for that. So what I'm doing at the moment on this model is there's a couple of little areas that is sort of little stones, and they glow up. So what I'm doing to help with that is I'm just putting a little patch of white on each area, so I can then go over with a contrast probably, to give them that sort of appearance that they're glowing. So that's what I'm doing right now. There's none of those stones there. I just want to test it out and see how it looks. So again, I'm going to use this contrast paint. Yeah, the axe has not come out in the same way I wanted it to, but never mind. We can try a different method next time, I think. Okay, right, so let's try these little stoned areas. Okay, that looks alright. Okay, don't mind that, that looks half decent. Again, a simple technique to making something appear like it's kind of glowing. Get a little bit of white underneath. It's not a perfect method, but it gives you that kind of appearance that something is glowing of some sorts. Don't be afraid to slap plenty of the contrast around these sort of areas. I think it looks pretty good. So, the next one what I wanted to try was, where was it? We got this. So this is like a white, meant to be a white contrast. Now I want to run the white contrast through some of these little tiny lines that are on this model. I don't know whether you guys can see on this model or not, but there are some tiny little lines across his armour. And what I would really love to do is just to drop this colour in on those lines to highlight them, and then use this blue to then go across it after it's already got the white in there. I could paint a normal white in there, yes, 100%, but contrast paint is so much easier and it flows better. So I just wanted to try that first off, just to see. So we'll take this little area down here, and this is like an off-white really, and all we're doing is we're dabbing it in the paint into these recesses. So just going around tracing all these lines, and there's lots of them, so apologies, this is a bit of a slow process. It's nothing fast here. So dabbing this white contrast into the recesses around the model. And this is sort of the first step really. Because then what we want is for this contrast to dry and give us a kind of white-ish background on all the recesses, and then we can go over that in a brighter contrast colour, and that will then hopefully stand out and look nice and shiny. But you can see, hopefully, he says, you can see how easy the contrast flows through the recesses. That's why I've chosen this contrast paint over a normal paint, because it just applies to these areas so much better. You don't really have to be an artist to be able to get it to do what you're trying to do. And as well, if you make a mistake, you can, if you're quick and you don't have big fat podgy fingers, and you're not an idiot like me that goes over the lines like that, you can quickly erase any mistakes that you make. So remember, when you're doing this kind of work, you don't want to press the brush, because the brush is loaded with this contrast paint that will flow really easy. You do not want to press the brush too hard, because the contrast paint will ooze out and it will go over the area that you want and beyond. So just be really careful when you're doing this. You do want to stay in the lines you're trying to stay in. Now, a little bit over is not going to... Can you see? I don't know if you can see there how that contrast paint is looking right now, right? Now, you can go a little bit over. Don't be completely anal and worry that you've gone like a smidgen over the edge. Because you can go over, because you're looking for like a glow effect in this case. So this is like the undercoat, if you will, and we'll put the shiny colour over the top, or the bright colour, and then hopefully the bright colour will stand out. That is the intention. So there we go. You can see that now, how that's looking. That's looking pretty cool, right? You can see all those little glyphs that are poking up. What's Squarish saying? I went to a talk by a photographer who had found photography as a way to escape from the stresses of her illness. Ended up using it to literally discover a new perspective on it through the camera. Yeah. I would say hobbies, you know, I would say to anybody, get a hobby and enjoy it and get amongst it, because you can use it for a lot of things. And that escapism from the reality of illness, of work, of, you know, whatever that stressor is in your life, hobbies are a great way to get away from that. I always say to people, you know, you need to get a hobby, you must get a hobby, because hobbies keep you from going mad. I can personally vouch and attest to that through using hobbies previously to keep me completely sane. rather than going mad. I'm already mad as it is, but rather than going even madder, you know, using hobbies to keep me calm or keep me from being too stressed out, or to keep me from worrying, or whatever it is. So, you know, hobbies are great for that. They really, really are. So I can't attest to the lady's illness, but I can attest to hobbies keeping my mindset fresh when I wasn't great. So, you know, it's 100% doable. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing on the camera, and it's looking half decent, by the way. I'm trying to do it fairly quickly so I'm not sort of stuck on this for the rest of the show, but this is now into an awkward angle where his leg is going slightly backwards. It's just a little bit difficult to get to the recesses that you might want. Again, another reason why when you're making miniatures, it is really helpful to paint as you build. So, you know, you could paint these elements, these shin sort of guards, on the sprue. Why not? You know, you don't have to paint once built. There's no rules that say you have to do it this way. You know, I've painted a couple of minis on the sprue directly. Nothing wrong in that at all. Square Shank, I did struggle for a bit after turning my hobby into a job, which is great to manage, but I lost that opportunity to escape. That's why I found D&D as a new hobby. Yeah, so I love fitness, but I worked in fitness, not just in the army, but as a civilian as well. And you do lose that motivation to do stuff, because I do find it quite difficult sometimes to separate it out like that. I just found that doing it every day, I kind of lost the drive and the passion, because you're immersed in it. But it wasn't for me. I mean, if I was doing model painting every day for me, that's completely different. Say like Minis-N-Muscles as a channel took off, and I had, you know, 100,000 viewers watching, and, you know, sponsorship deals, all the rest of it. I could then paint for a hobby, but for my job. That way I think I could enjoy it. But if I was, for example, painting models for people, I'm not sure if I could hack doing that or not. I don't know. I don't know whether it would take the fun out of it. It might not. It might still help. I don't know, but I'm just not so sure. Because in the past, where, you know, like, let's use when I was in the army and I worked in a gym doing fitness, taking people for their fitness, and, you know, motivating people to do their fitness day in, day out. You know, you then come to do your own fitness, and you sometimes become less inspired because you've been dealing with it all day. So I kind of get what you mean, Squarish. It's I think that's quite a common thing. There we go, trying to do these little runes on his chest now. But yeah, escapism is good. Good for the mind, good for the soul. If you can use a hobby to do that, I would very much encourage you to try. These are quite difficult, these little blooming lines. I'm just sort of getting into it and getting into the flow of it, but it's not easy to... Sometimes, I mean, it's easier to run this paint through these lines than it would be to run a what's it called paint? A normal acrylic, right? But it's not easy to do as a whole. And you've got lots of these little details, and there are loads of these details on this model. Of these little lines, they're bloody everywhere. So in hindsight, if I was to do a Primaris Librarian again, I think I would definitely do this before I build the model. So if anyone is thinking off the back of watching this of making their own Primaris Librarian, 100%, it's a super funky model. This is the Terminator, Librarian Terminator. It's a super funky model, looks really cool, but I would definitely, if you're going to do this method of running contrast through the recesses, I would 100% advise that you do this before you build the model, just because I think it would be a lot easier. I mean, this isn't impossible, but just some of the angles are a little bit tricky. So you can make it easier on yourself if you were to decide to do the recesses in pre-build stage. So when it's on its sprue, perhaps, it might be a little bit easier to do. Because otherwise it is a little bit delicate and there's a lot of lines to do. Oh, bugger. Went a bit over there, which is a bit of annoyance, but not to matter, not to worry. Right, we've got some of these runes on this side to do. Sorry if my big fat head's getting in the way, or I'm not quite getting the camera angle right. This is just a real tricky little bit to do. Ah, see? Do you see how there I had too much contrast on my brush? So it then filled the hole completely. Rather than being really nice and, you know, looking smart. So then what you've got to do is you've got to then take your brush elsewhere and come back to it, and you can use your brush to take some of the contrast out of that hole once it's dried up and you've painted other areas, and you can paint a different area. Or sorry, I didn't explain that very well. If you've applied too much paint into one of these recesses, rather than trying to mop it all out and start afresh, just take your paintbrush and come back to the area. Like here, I've noticed too much washes in there, sorry, contrast. So I've just gone to the next rune and I've started to paint that and drop some contrast in there. Once I've realised that my brush is almost empty, I go back to the one that I put too much in, and I can then use my brush to spread it around. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. There we go. There you go. You can sort of see how many lines there are on this model. It's really cool though. Looks like it's worth the effort to do the lines though. Really makes the model stand out. Yeah, this is why I loved this model, if I'm honest. It just looks really cool. Now some people use like airbrushes to airbrush like the sort of glow on, and I might try that, but I'm not that great with the airbrush, if I'm honest, just yet. So I'll probably avoid that, and I will use a brighter contrast to then go over the top and sort of leak over the edges, and hopefully that will give it the glow effect. It might not work, but we can try again. Look, too much contrast into one area, go to the next one, you know, go to the next one if you've still got enough contrast on your brush, and go back to the one you applied too much to. The brush will then soak up the excess and you'll be able to move it around the rest of the area that you required. There we go. Again, too much contrast. Find another area, go across to the other area. Once you notice that you're running out of contrast, go back to the area that you put too much in and run it round. It's quite an easy process, to be fair, in terms of making sure you correct yourself after making a cock up. It's fairly easy, so don't get too hung up about it if you make a massive mistake. There we go. Again, run that contrast round. If I've got enough, I don't really want to. You've got to be so careful when you pick up contrast onto your brush, because it's so light, it just sucks straight into the bristles on your brush, and it goes straight everywhere. It's a bit of a bugger. Right, so there we go. He's looking all right. Look at all those little details. Oh, the hammer's... sorry, the axe is not... Can you see the axe now, where we've got that blend of the dark contrast and the light contrast? That's what I was going for. It hasn't come out as good as what I hoped for, but wet blending the two contrasts together, you do get the light and the dark there, look. So that's kind of what we were going for. Let's have a look on that side. That's not quite as good, but we can add some more dark to that. But yeah, that's the kind of look you want, where if you're using wet blending, use your sort of two variants of your tone, go from one to the other. It's quite effective. Just seeing what else we got. Oh, we got his little library book here. We could probably do. It's probably not a bad time to do the library book, because we want to paint this brown shortly. So if we get all these little bits done now. Again, on this one, it doesn't matter, because we know we're going to paint this brown. It doesn't matter too much if we go over the edge. So again, don't feel too bad if you go over a little bit. Just fill it as best you can. Oh, there's way too much. You see how that was way... I've got a bit too eager. Yeah, see, a bit too eager on that one, where I've not got anything else left to brush. You see there, I just literally ran my brush down, and how it wicked the rest of that excess off. And because we're going over this area anyway, with brown shortly, it will cover that up, so we've got no drama. There we go, get that little bit in there. Right, I think we might have just got all of the recesses. I think so. Just checking, making sure we have. I think we have. So that's pretty cool. I think since it's 9 o'clock, we'll call it quits there. So that was quite an intense moment for painting. Oh, we didn't do the up on the top on the helmet. Bugger. Right, let's just quickly do that. I was going to pack away, but we'll keep it open for 2 seconds longer. just because I want to make sure that we get the last little bits done up here. There we go. Filling in these last little bits. Oh, I realised we didn't do the hobby horror moment. Sorry, guys and girls. Apologies. However, we will cover that next week. I've got too engrossed in this painting actually tonight. There we go. So he's got his helmets done as well. Triple double check. Oh, there's two little white bits there as well we need to do. Bugger! Oh, bugger! Oh, well, it just means to stay online for 2 seconds longer. There we go. Got that one. And we've got one around this side as well. There we go. Alrighty. I think it was about done. We could see if we could get away with putting the bright blue onto those white parts. Yeah, we can get away with it. There we go. All right. Oh, sorry guys, out of frame. There we go. So that's what our Primaris Librarian Terminator looks like so far. Coming along, right? Not too bad, not too shabby. A few little details done. There's still lots to do on the model, but I think he looks pretty sweet. Okay, so let's change up the angle so I can see all you guys a bit better. There we go. An end to another show. That's our 47th Minis-N-Muscles. Crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. Oh, let's just tick that way because I feel like I'm always sat to one side. Oh, there you go. Hopefully you have enjoyed tonight's show. Fingers crossed that I was not completely boring and I managed to entertain you for at least 5 minutes. If I'd done that and I made you smile at some point, then my job is done. I've spread some love, I've spread some coolness, some geekery. But for those that you have joined tonight, for those that you are watching after and commenting, chatting, all the rest of it, those that you're dropping comments in, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you very much for joining me, making my Friday cool. Hopefully your Friday will continue to be cool and you'll enjoy the weekend as it is almost Saturday, not too far away for some of us, especially here in the UK. Make sure you continue with your geekiness across the weekend. Please do enjoy it. Embrace every moment of it. Go and have fun. Go and enjoy life. And I will speak to you all very soon. Goodbye for now. Stay safe. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Minis-N-Muscles with you.